what's going on, folks? It's your friendly AWOL old soldier. And I know I've been off the net for a little bit. But that was because we were trying to spend as much time as we could with our daughter and grandson, son-in-law before they left. They left out Sunday morning. Yeah, my heart still hurts. But he's in the Army. That's the way it is sometimes. I just ask you to pray for him. They got to Iowa yesterday, and there's apparently a winter storm warning for the next 2 days through that area, so now they're having to divert their route. I'd ask that you'd pray for them to have safe travels. As they're having to divert the route and come around another way to get to Washington State to avoid this winter storm that's coming through that northwest area. I told them, this time of year, going through that part of the country is a hit or miss option when it comes to winter weather. Where to begin, where to catch up. This for you, Brother Kyle. Anywho, anyhow, anyway, brother. G23, there was unforeseen circumstances as to why we couldn't accompany them on this leg of their journey. But Mrs. and I are definitely planning to go up and visit them sometime, hopefully here in the near future. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise too much more. There was just certain things that didn't fall into place that we were hoping to fall into place. I'll leave it at that. But good God Almighty, the gas prices. Let's talk about gas prices. The more I think about my grandson, the more I want to. Old soldiers don't cry, but our eyeballs sweat a lot on certain things. So I don't want my eyeballs to sweat. Yeah, let's talk about gas prices. Let's talk about oil production. Let's talk about how incompetent the administration is right now. We say incompetent when we're referring to Joe Biden and the cackling hen Kamala Harris. Yeah. The true reality is this is all going according to somebody's plan. This is going to somebody's plan, and to good effect, I might add. You think about this. First thing that Joe Biden's puppet handler had him do was shut down our own pipeline. And now, Russia's invaded Ukraine. We were actually supposedly, I can't verify it. One of y'all can put down the comments if I'm speaking out my ear hole or if I'm speaking on point, that we were apparently buying a lot of oil from Russia. It's been proven that Germany was relying heavily on Russian oil reserves. So I can only imagine the cost of gas in Germany right now. And here's why I say this. I was stationed in Germany from 1989 to 1991. Back when they still had German marks, not the euro. And about that time, the dollar to the mark rate wasn't the greatest. When I left, it had gotten down to mark 68 to the dollar. When I first got there, it was about 2.25 marks to the dollar, which wasn't the greatest in the world. And, I've heard guys talk about when they were there in the 70s and early 80s, it was almost 5 marks to the dollar. I mean, you go exchange your dollars for marks and you can live hog heaven on the economy. Anyway, even when I was there from 87 to 91, gas prices were not cheap in Europe. They weren't cheap. If you were a U.S. soldier, you had a ration book that you could get so many liters of gas. That's how they do it over there, liters, not gallons like we do. You could get so many liters of gas with your ration book at a cheaper cost. And once your ration book had run out for the month, see, every month you had to renew those gas ration books. I think you actually had to go buy the gas ration. PX? Anyway, at AFE's prices. After that, you had to go get your gas on the economy. Okay. And back then, gas was, it seemed like it was almost 3.5 marks to the liter. So one of those things. So I can only imagine what the cost of gas in Germany is right now, let alone. But yeah, there was supposedly, the Germans were relying heavily on the Russian oil pipeline. And now, that's the other thing too. Visa and MasterCard have suspended Russian accounts. Again, I don't condone what Russia has done to the Ukraine. I truly do feel for the Ukrainian people, not the Ukrainian government, the Ukrainian people. They didn't deserve to have their worlds turned upside down and invaded by a neighbor. Yes, folks, I'm still drinking Coca-Cola. Forgive me. One of the few vices I got left. But yeah, they didn't ask for this to happen. I understand Russia's point of view. You've got a country that's applying to be a part of NATO. Potentially on the verge of being accepted into NATO, maybe not. But either way it goes, they're asking for NATO help. I didn't want that on our doorstep. Much like the old Soviet Union had all those Eastern Bloc nations as a buffer. Well, you think about it from a strategic sense. If he takes all of Ukraine, he's got a large buffer. But the real catch there is, if he takes all of Ukraine, what's to stop him from going into Poland and all the other little Baltic nations and things of that nature? At the end of the day, I still don't think the United States got any business involved in this, and I think we need to really start considering taking ourselves out of NATO altogether. I had a British friend of mine from Facebook try to tell me that the U.S. founded NATO. I did some research. It actually started with, I think it was Britain and France with a treaty, and then somehow it evolved into NATO. Long story short, we've been a part of NATO far too long. We have footed the bill for far too long. It's time for the European Union to step up to the plate. Supposedly they have been. I don't know. I can really care less what the European Union does, one way or the other. Because there were certain countries when that formed that got screwed, and there were certain countries from it that got fatter than a doggone heifer cow. But long story short, at the end of the day, the European Union needs to ante up. The United States needs to consider pulling out of NATO or drastically reducing the amount of what we put into it. In all honesty, I think we ought to kick the UN out of the United States and send their butts over to Belgium. Let them establish a building in The Hague, move the UN there. I really think the United States needs to consider pulling itself off the Security Council. Now, that's just my opinion. Why? I think we need to make alliances with countries that truly support us. And vice versa. None of this other stuff that, we've made allowances for through the years. Because all this stuff's still going on in Ukraine and the focus is on there, we can't take our eye off the Pacific. That's the other thing. We've got major trading partners in the Pacific. We have U.S. territory in the Pacific. lot of this is potentially under threat from, you guessed it, China. So we need to keep our eye on the prize out there. Now, if China decides to be as emboldened as Russia was and decides that they finally want to unify all of the Chinese people under one umbrella, under one flag, and they go into Taiwan, my personal opinion is we owe the Taiwanese our help. Several reasons why I think so, and that's probably another video for another time. But in the short, you know, when we didn't take Chiang Kai-shek out of power during World War II, we kind of allowed him to cause the nationalist Chinese to be pushed out of mainland China into Taiwan. General Joseph Stilwell referred to Chiang Kai-shek as the peanut. Didn't like the man. The man was very elusive when it came to cooperation and strategy. All indicators, he was fairly corrupt. And the people that were underneath him were corrupt. And they craved power instead of freedom for their people. And they were pushed off onto the island of Taiwan. Well, that's where they wound up. And were able to hold off the communists from there. So I think we owe it to them. Now, if you disagree with me, that's cool. But there are other nations in the Pacific that could be threatened by Chinese expansion. So we need to keep our eye on the ball there, folks. But anywho, anyhow, anyway, one more time for you, Brother Kyle. Headed to a cardiologist appointment to see why my chest hurts and I'm short of breath sometimes. Probably because I'm out of shape, but my family's got a history of heart disease, so better safe than sorry. But hopefully they can run some tests just to make sure my ticker's okay. Doc says it's okay. I gotta get back on doing something more, a little more strenuous as far as exercise goes. Just keep me in your prayers though, because like I said, I go to pain management Thursday. Let's see about doing some acupuncture on my back and see if I can get some relief there. Because popping pain pills is just, I'm worried about my liver. But until then, my friends, stay safe, stay vigilant, stay armed, keep your eyes open, keep your ear to the ground. And we shall talk to you at a later date and time. God bless, take care. Stay old soldier out.